Chapter 5. Beth's Mother. Detective Freeze sat at the head of a long table, with many of his men sitting around it. They all had dark suits and papers in front of them, except for one. He was Gerald and Beth's boss, Dr. Leenham. He wore a white scientist's coat and had messy white hair. He wore thick glasses. He looked very nervous as Detective Freeze spoke.
Doctor, what are you telling the people at the lab about Dunning and Morgan?
I've told them they left the country to do research on their new project.
Good.
But I can't keep saying that. Mr. Dunning is dead, for God's sake.
Don't worry, Doctor. When the time comes, we'll say Mr. Dunning had a very bad car accident. For now, say he's out of the country. Have we heard anything on Decker or Sylvie Collard?
Since they left Tivoli's together, we haven't been able to find them. We know Decker drives a white 1994 Rover. The police have pictures of both of them. We've told them we want to pick them up immediately. We have people watching for them at the airport, bus and train stations. So far, they haven't left town, unless they are using other names.
And what about Beth Morgan?
We haven't found her either. Her mother is waiting outside, and we hope she can help us out. Would you like to talk to her alone?
Yes, but Doctor, I want you to stay with me. I want the rest of you to find information on the relatives and friends of Sylvie Collard, Simon Decker and Beth Morgan.
The men got up and left the room, except the doctor and a short man who sat quietly next to Detective Freeze when he spoke to the others. Everything about him looked perfect. His hair, his suit, his face, except for a button on his jacket. It was different from the others. Detective Freeze spoke in a low and very serious voice.
Follow what I say, Doctor. We don't want to frighten this woman, but we want her to think her daughter is in danger.
Don't you think this is going too far? I don't want to be part of this.
Doctor, you also have a family. 2 children in college, I believe. If you want to work as a scientist again, I suggest you do what I tell you. You can't send your kids to college if you don't have a job.
Or if you're not alive.
It was the first time the small man spoke. He was the man with Detective Freeze at Gerald's house the night Simon was hiding behind the cupboard. His deep voice scared the doctor.
How right you are, Mr. Connors.
The door to the office opened, and a small, nicely dressed woman with silver hair tied up on her head entered.
Mrs. Morgan, please sit down.
Thank you.
I think you know Dr. Leenham.
Only by name. How do you do, Doctor?
Mrs. Morgan, we don't want to frighten you, but we're having trouble finding Beth. She's working on a very important project, and she seems to have disappeared.
Oh, she's not in danger, is she? Tell me the truth. I want to know.
No, not at all, Mrs. Morgan. This project was very important. We think she has gone somewhere to be alone. Do you know where she might be?
No, I can't imagine. She never goes off on her own.
Does she know anyone living out of town?
The only place I can think of is my brother's, but I don't think she's there. She couldn't do any work out there.
Where?
It's in the mountains, away from everything. No, she wouldn't go there.
Could you tell us where it is?
Well, it doesn't have an address. It's a cabin in the forest.
Detective Freeze and Mr. Connors looked at each other.
Could you show us where it is?
I'll try, but it's been years since I went there myself.